Hey Reddit. I've been sitting on this story for a while, and it's been burning a hole in my chest. I need to get it out. Maybe someone else has lived through something similar, or maybe I just want to feel less crazy for still trying to make sense of what happened. Either way, here's my story, or at least how it started. I, 35M, was married to Alyssa, 34F, for 9 years. We'd known each other for 11, met at a friend's game night, hit it off right away. She was funny, magnetic, sharp-tongued in that way that made you feel lucky to be on her good side. I fell for her hard. We were that couple that people called goals, at least in public. But behind closed doors, I'd be lying if I said it was perfect. Still, I loved her. I loved her when she worked 14-hour shifts as a nurse and came home exhausted. I loved her when she vented about patients and rude co-workers. I loved her when she was moody, even when she snapped at me over the smallest things. I just thought, that's marriage, right? You support each other even when it's not all fireworks. We didn't have kids, not by choice exactly, more by timing, and then the conversation just sort of drifted. We were both working a lot. I'm in IT, decent money, stable hours, hybrid setup. I cooked, cleaned, did laundry, because Alyssa was often too wiped to do much around the house. I didn't mind. She'd say thank you with a quick kiss and collapse on the couch. It was fine. Or so I thought. Then things shifted. Subtly at first. She got a new phone and started guarding it like it contained nuclear codes. Always face down, silenced, and suddenly it died a lot when she was out. She started having more girls' nights, mostly with her best friend Tara. Now, let me say this, I never trusted Tara. Not from day one. Something about her just screamed trouble. She had that smug, I know a secret, look permanently painted on her face. I can't explain it, my gut just didn't like her. Alyssa used to roll her eyes whenever I mentioned it. You're just intimidated because she's blunt, she'd say. Or, Tara's always had my back, unlike some people. That last comment stung, but I let it go. I was starting to feel like I was losing her, but I didn't want to be the clingy husband. I thought maybe she just needed space. Work had been rough for her, or so she said. So I gave it to her. That was my first mistake. One night, she came home tipsy, reeking of wine, still in her scrubs. She kicked off her shoes, flopped onto the couch, and started going on and on about how Tara knows how men are, how most guys cheat eventually, and how she'd never let a man fool her. She looked at me and asked, dead serious, you'd tell me if you ever cheated, right? It was so out of the blue that I just laughed. Of course, I said. But you know I'd never do that. She didn't respond. Just stared at me for a beat, nodded slightly, and went to bed without another word. That moment haunted me more than I realized at the time. 2 weeks later, I came home to Alyssa sitting on the couch, arms crossed, her face unreadable. Tara saw you with another woman, she said flatly. My stomach dropped. I stood there stunned, trying to process what Alyssa had just said. Tara saw you with another woman. Those 7 words flipped my entire world upside down in an instant. I set my laptop bag down slowly and asked, what are you talking about? She didn't move. She just sat there, stone-faced, arms crossed like she'd already made up her mind. She said it was you. You were with some brunette, holding hands, laughing together. At that cafe near the hospital. I blinked. You mean the little corner spot with the red awning? Babe, I haven't even been there in months. And who? She said she saw your jacket. The brown one with the elbow patches. You were wearing it. She swears it was you. Now, let's pause here. I own that jacket. But you know who else owns that exact one? Literally hundreds of guys in this city. It's a damn popular design from a common store. And Tara saw me from across the street during rush hour? You'd think someone who's always on social media would know better than to call that ironclad proof. So I asked to see the picture. I figured maybe it'd be blurry or show someone who just looked like me. But Alyssa didn't flinch. She deleted it, she said. She didn't want to embarrass you by showing me proof. She thought I should talk to you first. Bull. Absolute bull. Who the hell deletes proof if they are trying to help their friend avoid being cheated on? I said that. I told her it didn't make any sense, that it sounded like Tara was stirring crap for attention. That's when Alyssa's voice rose. Of course you'd say that. You've never liked her. You've been jealous of her since day one because she actually sees through your fake, good guy act. That hit me hard. I've never claimed to be perfect, but I've never been fake. I do the laundry, I cook dinner, I show up. And now I'm being told it's all a performance. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just said, if you think I'm capable of cheating on you, then maybe you don't know me at all. She didn't respond. She just stood up and walked past me to the bedroom, slamming the door behind her. The next week was a mess. She barely spoke to me. She kept texting Tara constantly, whispering when I entered the room, guarding her phone like it was the launch code for a missile strike. I tried multiple times to sit her down and explain. I even pulled up my Google Maps timeline. It showed I hadn't been anywhere near that cafe that day. I showed her my call log, my work calendar, Slack messages, hell, I even offered to let her install a tracking app on my phone if it'd help rebuild trust. But she wouldn't even look at it. She just shook her head and said, "You're only covering your tracks because you're guilty." That's when it hit me. This wasn't about the truth. This was about control. Tara had planted a seed of doubt, and Alyssa let it grow like a weed until it choked out everything we'd built. I didn't know it yet, but that false accusation wasn't just about cheating. It was a smokescreen. A setup. Something darker was happening behind the scenes. Because what I didn't know was that Alyssa wasn't just believing Tara's lie. She was using it. The day after that blow-up, I decided to give her space. I figured maybe if I stepped back, didn't push, she'd come to her senses and realize Tara's word wasn't gospel. But instead of calming down, Alyssa doubled down. She moved all her stuff into the guest room. Changed her phone password. Started taking extra shifts at the hospital, which, okay, maybe was true, but I couldn't confirm it. She started hiding her car keys, her purse, even her laundry. I wish I was exaggerating. And Tara? She started popping up more. I'd come home and hear her voice in the living room, laughing with Alyssa like nothing was wrong. The door would go quiet the second I stepped in. One night I came home early, around 6 p.m., and heard them whispering. I opened the door and they both jumped like kids caught stealing cookies. "Don't you knock!" Alyssa snapped. "It's my house," I said calmly. "What are you whispering about?" "None of your business," Tara cut in with that smug smile. "Alyssa doesn't owe you explanations anymore." That made my blood boil. I looked at Alyssa, my wife, and waited for her to set her friend straight. She didn't. She just looked away. I wish I could tell you I blew up. That I shouted or kicked Tara out. But I didn't. I just stood there and quietly said, "If you don't trust me, and you don't want to talk to me, then what's the point of still pretending we're okay?" Alyssa didn't even blink. That's what I've been asking myself. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment in our marriage trying to figure out what went wrong. And then something clicked. Something so obvious I can't believe it took me that long. Why would Tara go so far to destroy our marriage? What does she gain? I got up, sat at my computer, and started scrolling. Socials, old messages, photos, comments. And there it was, a trail I hadn't paid attention to before. Pictures of Alyssa and Tara at bars late at night. Inside jokes that didn't make sense to me. DMs from Alyssa to Tara that were a little too flirty. And then, a message from Tara to someone else, public, but buried under an old post, saying, she's finally starting to see who she belongs with. What? I don't want to throw accusations lightly, but when I say I had a gut punch moment, I mean it. It hit me like a freight train. Was Tara in love with my wife? Suddenly, everything made sense. Tara had always hated me, not because I was unworthy, but because I was in the way. The protective best friend act. That was jealousy. She wasn't trying to save Alyssa from a cheater. She was trying to clear a path. And Alyssa, God help me, was either too blind to see it, or worse, she knew. I stayed up all night, just thinking. My wife believed her best friend's lie that I cheated, and it was destroying our marriage. But now I was starting to think she wanted it destroyed. And I had no idea what she might do next. The morning after my late-night realization, I woke up in a fog, eyes sore from lack of sleep and brain spinning with 1,000 thoughts. I couldn't prove anything yet, but the pieces were clicking together in a way I couldn't ignore. Tara didn't just lie, she orchestrated the whole damn thing, and Alyssa was either complicit or willfully blind. Either way, I was the one getting burned. I tried to bring it up. I thought maybe if I approached her calmly, gently, I could get her to at least think critically about the whole situation. She was in the kitchen when I came in, sipping coffee like the house wasn't falling apart around us. "Hey," I said cautiously. "Can we talk?" She didn't even look up. "Depends. Is it about your lies again?" That hit like a slap. But I pushed forward. "No. It's about Tara. I think she has feelings for you. And I think that's why she's..." Alyssa's chair scraped back so hard it slammed into the wall. "Don't you dare try to turn this around. You're pathetic. First you cheat, then you gaslight me, and now you want to slut-shame my best friend." "I didn't cheat," I said firmly, trying to keep my voice level. "And I'm not slut-shaming anyone. I'm saying there's something off, and you won't even consider it because Tara's got you wrapped around her finger." She was fuming. Red-faced. "You're unbelievable. You know what? I think we need a break." My stomach sank. "A break?" "Yeah," she said, already walking toward the hallway. "You can sleep somewhere else. I'll have my brother come by and help pack your things." "Wait, my things?" That night, I got kicked out of my own house. She didn't even give me time to process it. She handed me a gym bag she'd already packed with random clothes, didn't even bother to fold them, and told me to figure things out somewhere else. No explanation. No compassion. Just cold detachment, like I was some stranger who overstayed his welcome. So I left. I drove to my brother's place and crashed on his couch. He was shocked. Knew we had issues, but nothing this extreme. I told him everything. Showed him the messages, the timelines, my proof of innocence. He believed me, instantly. And he asked a question that hadn't even crossed my mind yet. What if this whole thing was planned? What if they are trying to set you up for something worse? That stopped me cold. At first I laughed it off, sounded like a bad soap opera. But then he asked me if I'd checked the joint bank account lately. Or my credit report. Or our shared bills. I hadn't. That night, I logged in. And what I saw made my blood run cold. Thousands gone. Transfers I didn't authorize. New accounts I didn't recognize. Her name on documents I'd never seen. My name on charges I didn't make. This wasn't just about a lie. It was about a takedown. And I was already 2 steps behind. The more I dug, the worse it got. Alyssa had started bleeding our joint account weeks ago, small withdrawals at first, then bigger ones. There was even a credit card in my name, with charges from a luxury boutique I'd never heard of, and a high-end hotel room booked for multiple nights, the same nights she claimed she was working night shifts. I checked the billing address. It wasn't our home. It was an apartment across town, one ID never stepped foot in. At that point, I knew something huge was happening behind the scenes. It wasn't just about infidelity anymore. This wasn't an impulsive affair, this was a setup. And I'd walked right into it like a fool. The next morning, I called Alyssa. She didn't answer. So I drove to their house. Her car was in the driveway. Tara's too. I knocked once, twice. No answer. So I used my key. Big mistake. As soon as I walked through the door, Alyssa came storming down the hallway, phone in hand, screaming, "Get out! You're trespassing." "I live here," I snapped. "This is my house too." She shoved the phone in my face. "I'm calling the cops." "You're scaring me." I froze. She was already on the line, voice trembling, fake panic mode in full swing. Yes, he forced his way in. His yelling. "I'm scared he's going to hurt me." That's when I realized, she wasn't just destroying the marriage. She was trying to destroy me. I backed out of the door slowly, hands up. Told the dispatcher on my own phone exactly what was happening. Gave them my name, my address, the mortgage account. The officer who arrived had the decency to check the deed. But even he warned me, "Next time, don't come here without her written permission. Just to be safe." Just to be safe. From what? The truth. When she stepped outside that day, she looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You brought this on yourself." For what? I asked. What did I do? She didn't blink. "You lied. You cheated. You made me feel like I wasn't enough. You deserve this." No proof. No evidence. Just conviction built on air. On Tara's word. And just like that, she turned and walked back into our home. Slammed the door behind her. That night, I got a message from a friend of mine, a nurse from her hospital. It was short, hesitant. "Hey. I thought you and Alyssa were still together. I saw her last week with someone, she was holding hands with Tara. They kissed. Thought you knew." My heart dropped. So there it was. Confirmed. She hadn't just believed Tara's lie. She'd used it as cover for an affair she was already having. With her best friend. And she was so convinced of her own righteousness, she torched everything we had to protect a relationship built on secrets and manipulation. She believed her best friend's lie that I cheated, but the real betrayal was hers. That message from the nurse changed everything for me. Up until then, I was still operating like a heartbroken husband, confused, desperate to clear my name, clinging to the hope that Alyssa would come to her senses. But after I read those words, "They kissed," something in me snapped into focus. All the pieces finally clicked. Alyssa and Tara were together. Had probably been together for months, maybe even a year. And this whole elaborate lie? This accusation of cheating, the frozen bank accounts, the fake crying, the cops, it was all part of their plan to destroy me before I could catch on. They wanted me gone. Humiliated. Legally neutered. And broke. It wasn't just betrayal, it was premeditated. I sat in my brother's apartment, staring at the wall for what felt like an hour. Then I opened my laptop, took a breath, and started documenting everything. Every screenshot. Every bank transaction. Every text. I backed up the cloud. I copied our security cam footage from the doorbell, cross-referenced dates she claimed to be at work with timestamps showing her leaving in Tara's car. I wasn't going to yell anymore. I was going to build a case. First thing I did was lock down my credit. Called the banks, froze the accounts, and put a fraud alert on every report. I had to fight like hell to close the card in my name. Turns out she'd been forging my signature, but I got it done. That same day, I pulled the full financials and found something else. She'd withdrawn $9,000 in cash over 2 months. Where the hell did it go? I'd find out soon. Next, I called a lawyer. Explained the situation, not just the infidelity, but the financial abuse and false accusations. He told me something chilling: "It's good you're getting ahead of this. If she files first and claims abuse, it's going to be hard to undo that damage. Start recording everything." So I did. Every phone call. Every visit. I even carried a pocket recorder, just in case. The next time Alyssa called me, it wasn't to apologize. It was to gloat. Just so you know, she said sweetly, I'm filing for divorce next week. I've got a great lawyer, and I'm keeping the house. Don't even try to fight it. I didn't respond. Just said, okay, and hung up. Let her think she was winning. She had no idea I'd already sent my lawyer evidence of her affair, the fraud, the slander. Including that message from the nurse. And she definitely didn't know I'd spoken to Tara's ex-girlfriend, who was more than happy to tell me about the overlaps in their timeline. Alyssa thought she was playing chess. But I was about to flip the whole board. I spent the next few days laying low, keeping things quiet. Let Alyssa and Tara enjoy their little fantasy world where I was the villain and they were the scorned women reclaiming their power. I didn't try to contact her. Didn't even respond to the email she sent through her lawyer saying I had abandoned the marital home and that she was entitled to full occupancy. I just smiled. Let her think I was folding. Meanwhile, my lawyer filed the response paperwork and countered everything. We were prepping for war, financial records, false accusations, misconduct, and most importantly, the affair. In our state, adultery with provable harm can influence division of property. Especially when there's fraud involved. But I wasn't content with just playing defense. I needed one final piece of proof, something irrefutable. So I went back to the apartment address from the suspicious billing records. It was a sleek little rental in a building that catered to traveling professionals. I parked a block away, waited, and watched. And sure enough, at 7:13 p.m., a familiar car pulled up. Tara stepped out, looking smug in heels and a tight black dress. And behind her? Alyssa. Laughing. Holding hands. I snapped photos. Time-stamped. Clear faces. No ambiguity. The next night, I went back and caught a shot of them kissing at the door before they went inside. That was it. Game over. I didn't send it to Alyssa. I sent it to her lawyer. With a formal declaration and the rest of the evidence attached. 3 days later, I got a call from my own attorney. He sounded amused. They are panicking, he said. Suddenly she's open to mediation. She doesn't want to fight in court anymore. They want this settled quietly. Oh, now they wanted quiet. Nah. We agreed to mediation, but on my terms. Alyssa walked in with Tara beside her like she was her emotional support animal. I didn't even look at Tara. Just looked Alyssa in the eye and slid the photos across the table. Her face went white. Funny, I said. I never cheated. But you sure did a hell of a job convincing yourself I did. She opened her mouth, probably to deny it, but the lawyer cut in fast. My client would like to resolve this amicably. My client, my lawyer cut in, wants the house, wants to be cleared of all false accusations in writing, wants full control of his financial accounts, and will agree not to pursue criminal charges for fraud if those terms are met. Silence. Tara looked like she wanted to crawl under the table. And Alyssa? She finally looked at me, but there was no fire this time. Just shame. I really thought you cheated, she muttered. No, I said. You just wanted a reason. And that was the moment I knew, even if she hadn't set it all up from the start, she'd chosen to believe the lie because it gave her a convenient excuse. She needed me to be the bad guy so she could play the victim. But now everyone saw who she really was. The mediation was brutal, not because I didn't win, but because watching her unravel under the weight of her own lies was almost painful. Almost. She walked into that room with Tara glued to her side, acting like she still had the upper hand. But once my lawyer laid out the timeline, the financial records, the text messages, and, most importantly, the photos of her and Tara together while she was accusing me of infidelity, the silence in the room was deafening. Alyssa went pale. Tara tried to act outraged, like I was the problem, but her voice shook. She clearly hadn't expected me to fight back. I could tell they thought I'd just slink away quietly, let them destroy my reputation and walk off with everything we built. Not a chance. My lawyer had done his homework. He cited the false police call, the slander, the misappropriated funds, and the attempts to fabricate a cheating narrative. Then he dropped the hammer: if we went to court, would be pursuing everything. Full property rights, legal costs, fraud charges, and public exposure. Suddenly, Alyssa was willing to talk. The house. Mine. The accounts? Closed and divided under my control until everything was sorted. Her spousal support demand dropped. She didn't even try to push back on the fraud charges, because she knew she'd lose. And that's when Tara stormed out. I'll never forget it. She stood up, looked at Alyssa, and hissed, "This isn't what you said would happen." Then she turned to me and spat, "You're a manipulative bastard." I smiled. "You really thought you'd get away with this?" She didn't answer. Just walked out and slammed the door. Alyssa sat there frozen, like a child caught stealing from the cookie jar, except this cookie jar held my career, my finances, and my dignity. I didn't say another word to her. I didn't need to. She signed the agreement with a shaky hand, and within 2 weeks, she was out of the house. I walked into my home, and just stood in the doorway for 10 full minutes, letting the silence soak in. No more Tara's perfume lingering in the hallway. No more cold looks over morning coffee. No more lies. Just peace. But it wasn't over yet. The fallout began fast. Turns out, Alyssa had borrowed money from her parents to fund some of those missing expenses, money she claimed was going toward fixing our marriage. When they found out she'd used it to play house with Tara, they cut her off. Hard. I heard through mutuals that her mother called her a disgrace. That her dad told her, "You burned down a marriage with a good man for what, exactly?" Tara? She moved out of their secret apartment less than a month later. I can only imagine how that breakup went. And Alyssa? Well, last I heard, she's renting a room in some old co-worker's place and trying to find herself. She believed her best friend's lie that I cheated, and it destroyed everything she had. But the truth? That's what really finished her. After Alyssa moved out and the dust settled, the quiet was almost unsettling. For the first time in years, I could actually hear myself think. No constant drama. No walking on eggshells. No wondering what mood I was going to get hit with when I walked in the door. But peace doesn't mean happiness. Not right away. I'd love to tell you I threw a party, changed the locks, and immediately felt free. But the truth? I spent the first week walking around that house like a ghost. Everywhere I looked reminded me of what I'd built, and how fast it had all turned to ash. The dining table we'd picked out together. The blanket she always wrapped up in during movie nights. Her perfume still lingered in the bathroom. The betrayal was physical. It hung in the air like smoke from a fire long put out. And I felt stupid. Not just heartbroken, stupid. Because how could I not have seen it? The little red flags I waved off. The way Tara always hovered. The way Alyssa's affection slowly turned into contempt and I kept making excuses for it. I thought I was being patient. Loyal. But I was just being lied to, and I let it happen. That kind of realization breaks a man. I wasn't sleeping much. I'd wake up in the middle of the night thinking I heard her voice in the hallway. I couldn't look at photos without wondering how many smiles were fake. I kept replaying that moment, "Tara saw you with another woman," over and over in my head. Like it was the first domino she flicked, just to see how fast the whole thing would collapse. And I got angry. Not throw things angry, but quiet angry. The kind that simmers under the surface. The kind that makes you want to fix every broken piece of yourself just to prove that you won't let them win. So I got to work. I hired a financial planner to clean up the mess she made in our accounts. Got my name off anything tied to her. Started hitting the gym, partly to stay sane, partly because I hadn't been taking care of myself for years. I started seeing a therapist. Not because I thought I was broken, but because I wanted to make damn sure I never let someone like Alyssa back into my life again. Friends started drifting back in. People I hadn't talked to in months, some even years, started checking in. I found out a few had distanced themselves because Alyssa had been telling them I was unstable. That I was controlling, emotionally manipulative. One even said she hinted I might have been violent. That shook me. I realized she hadn't just lied to me. She'd been laying the groundwork to make sure no one believed me when it all fell apart. And yet, despite all that, I felt something strange creeping in, not forgiveness, not yet, but freedom. I wasn't tied to the lies anymore. I wasn't constantly trying to defend myself from something I didn't even do. I was starting over. And for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of what came next. About 2 months after the settlement, just when I was beginning to feel like a normal person again, I got a knock on my door one rainy Saturday morning. No call, no warning, just the kind of knock that comes with hesitation, like the person on the other side isn't sure if they should even be there. I opened the door and there she was. Alyssa. Soaked from the rain, hoodie clinging to her like a wet blanket, mascara smudged under her eyes. For a second, I didn't recognize her. The woman standing there looked nothing like the one who kicked me out, screamed false accusations, and let her best friend tear our life apart. She looked broken. I didn't say anything. Just waited. I'm not here to fight, she mumbled, her voice barely above a whisper. I needed to say something. I didn't invite her in. I stood in the doorway and let her talk. I know you hate me, she started. And honestly, I hate me too right now. Everything's gone. Tara, the apartment, my job, I got reported by one of the nurses who found out about the fake shifts. I'm on suspension. My parents won't even answer my calls. I'm living in someone's basement. I nodded but said nothing. She looked down at her shoes, then back up at me. I was stupid. I let Tara get in my head. She said she saw you cheating and I wanted it to be true. Because I'd already started falling for her. And I didn't want to be the bad guy. So if you cheated first, then I didn't have to feel guilty about what I was doing behind your back. There it was. The confession. The raw, pathetic, late-as-hell truth. I ruined everything, she said, tears mixing with the rain on her cheeks. You were good to me. I just didn't want boring and stable. I wanted excitement. And now? I'd give anything to have boring and stable back. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But I didn't feel anything else. No warmth. No desire to comfort her. Just a hollow sense of finality. She was mourning something I had already buried. I appreciate the apology, I said. But I can't do anything with it now. You believed a lie because it was easier than owning the truth. You chose your story over our reality. And that story cost you everything. She nodded, lips trembling, and took a step back. I just needed you to hear it. I did. She turned and walked away, disappearing down the sidewalk like a shadow that had finally lifted. That night, I slept harder than I had in months. She had believed her best friend's lie, a lie that torched our marriage, ruined her career, and left her with nothing. And even though she finally came clean, it was far too late. The damage had already carved its place in both of our lives. But only one of us was still stuck in the wreckage. In the days that followed her visit, I kept thinking about what she said, not because I wanted her back, not even out of bitterness, but out of a need to understand how someone could self-destruct so completely and still try to blame everyone else for lighting the match. I realized something: Alyssa never truly loved me for who I was. She loved the idea of me, the stability, the image, the loyalty, but deep down, she didn't want stability. She wanted drama disguised as passion. Secrets disguised as freedom. And Tara? She gave her exactly that. Until it all collapsed. After her visit, I didn't hear from her again. I assume she thought that closure moment on my porch was the end of our story. For me, it was just confirmation. A final stamp on a chapter I'd already closed. Meanwhile, life kept moving. I wasn't just healing, I was building. I reconnected with old friends. Started picking up hobbies again, woodworking, which I'd loved before marriage but gave up because Alyssa thought it was a waste of time. I even started volunteering at a weekend coding camp for teens, something I'd always wanted to do. People started telling me I looked different. Lighter. Calmer. And I felt different. For the first time in years, I wasn't shrinking myself to avoid someone else's outbursts. I wasn't trying to prove my loyalty every time I left the house. I wasn't questioning my own worth based on someone else's mood swings. Therapy helped too. My therapist was the first person who told me, flat out, you were emotionally abused. And hearing that, having someone name it, was like turning on the lights in a room I didn't know I'd been trapped in. I started journaling. Started making peace with the fact that not all closure comes with justice, and not all justice feels like a win. Sometimes it's just survival, and survival is enough. And yet, there was still one part of this I hadn't fully confronted. Tara. I never got to say a single word to her after the mediation. She stormed out, and that was it. But a few weeks later, I got a message from an unknown number. I just wanted you to know. I didn't expect her to throw me under the bus too. She blamed everything on me. Said I manipulated her. Said she was just confused. I should have known. She used you. Then used me. I lost everything too. It was from Tara. I stared at the screen for a long time. And then I deleted it. Because I didn't care anymore. They could both wallow in the ruins they built. They could both choke on the lies they weaponized. I was done. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need karma. I had something better. Peace. A few months passed. Seasons changed. The air got cooler, and the holidays rolled in, the first I'd be spending alone in nearly a decade. And yet, I wasn't dreading it. I decorated my house for the first time in years. Made dinner for myself. Invited my brother and his kids over for Christmas Eve, and we all sat around the table laughing, listening to old music, joking about my terrible mashed potatoes. No tension. No silent treatments. No glances across the table wondering what I did wrong that day. Just peace. That word keeps coming up, I know, but after what I went through, peace isn't just a mood. It's a revolution. In early January, I went out on my first real date since the divorce. It wasn't a big love story, no fireworks, no dramatic twists. Just two people talking over drinks, sharing stories about their failed relationships, and laughing at how ridiculous life can get. Her name was Claire. She was calm. Smart. Grounded. She listened when I spoke and didn't try to twist my words. When I told her about the divorce, the cheating, the lies, the fake accusations, she didn't look at me with pity. She looked at me with understanding. You seem like someone who was loyal to a fault, she said. Yeah, I replied, I've learned to stop making loyalty a suicide pact. We stayed in touch. Went on a few more dates. Nothing too serious, and that's exactly what I needed. Just something real. Honest. Meanwhile, Alyssa's name still floated around through mutuals occasionally. I didn't ask, but sometimes people told me anyway. She moved 3 times in 5 months. Lost her license temporarily due to workplace misconduct. Tried to get her old job back, but apparently burned too many bridges. Her parents stopped helping her financially altogether. I guess lies have a way of circling back. I won't lie, part of me felt a flicker of satisfaction hearing all that. But it was quickly replaced by indifference. I wasn't rooting for her downfall. I just didn't care anymore. Tara faded even faster. Some people said she moved states. Others said she went back to an ex who promptly cheated on her. Fitting, I guess. 2 people who thrived on lies and manipulation couldn't even manage to stay loyal to each other. That's the thing about people like that, they mistake destruction for power. But in the end, they always burn themselves too. As for me, I started writing. Journaling turned into long-form thoughts, which turned into blog posts. To my surprise, people read them. Some even reached out to say my story sounded like theirs. One guy wrote, "I thought I was going crazy until I read what happened to you." That hit hard. Because that's exactly how I felt during those months, like I was losing my grip on reality. Like maybe I had done something wrong. That gaslighting isn't just a buzzword. It's a slow, brutal erosion of your confidence, of your sanity. And surviving it. That strength most people never talk about. It was around spring when I realized something had shifted deep inside me. The house no longer felt like a crime scene. The echoes of her voice were gone. Even the bitterness, which used to bubble up whenever I walked past the closet she used to keep her things in, had faded into something I can only describe as clarity. I no longer replayed the conversations. No more, "What if I said this instead?" No more, "How did I not see it coming?" No more trying to understand why someone would nuke everything instead of just walking away. And with that clarity came ownership. This story, the one that wrecked me, tested me, taught me, it didn't belong to Alyssa. Or Tara. Or anyone else. It was mine. They lied. They cheated. They plotted. But I survived. And more than that, I rebuilt. I started owning what I went through. I didn't whisper divorce anymore like it was a dirty word. I spoke openly about the betrayal. The false accusations. The financial sabotage. People were stunned by how open I was, especially other men. A few even said, "You're brave, man." I could never talk about that stuff. But you know what? I think that's part of the problem. We're taught to take it in silence. Be strong. Move on. Don't give her the satisfaction. But screw that. Telling the truth isn't weakness, it's healing. And the more I shared, the more I realized how many others had been through something similar. One day I got an email from a woman who read my blog. She'd been falsely accused of cheating by her husband, only to find out he was the one having the affair. She told me my writing helped her find the courage to leave. That hit me in a way I didn't expect. I never thought my pain could serve a purpose. But maybe that's what healing really is, turning wounds into wisdom. And here's something I've come to believe, even after everything. Most betrayals aren't sudden. They are slow. 1,000 little boundary pushes. 100 minimized red flags. Dozens of little choices that all lead to one big fall. The key isn't to never trust, it's to trust yourself more. Your gut. Your voice. Your reality. Because if I had done that sooner, maybe I wouldn't have wasted so much time trying to fix a relationship where I was the only one actually showing up. But then again, maybe I needed to be broken to finally see clearly. Maybe I needed to lose that version of my life to make room for something better. Because now, I wasn't just surviving. I was thriving. There's a quiet moment that hits you sometime after betrayal, after the storm's passed, after the flames have died down, after the noise of everyone else's opinions and judgments fades into the background. It's just you. The mirror. And the truth you've been avoiding. That moment hit me on a random Tuesday morning. I had just finished brushing my teeth. I looked up, and I didn't see the tired man who once bent over backwards to earn love from someone who was already gone. I didn't see the guy Alyssa made me believe I was, weak, insecure, delusional. I saw someone real. Someone steady. Someone stronger because he was broken. I used to wonder, what did I do wrong? Now I ask, what did I learn? I learned that loyalty without boundaries is self-destruction. I learned that some people will only love you when it's convenient, and turn on you the second it's not. I learned that manipulation isn't always loud, sometimes it's wrapped in concern, or silence, or a friend whispering poison in your partner's ear while smiling at you across the dinner table. But most of all, I learned that walking away isn't weakness. It's survival. It's power. One of the last times I saw Alyssa, I didn't even recognize her. She was at the grocery store, alone, looking smaller than I remembered. She glanced at me across the frozen food aisle, eyes wide, unsure if she should wave, duck, or pretend not to notice me. I nodded once and kept walking. Not out of anger. Not out of pride. But because that chapter was over. I didn't need anything from her, not an apology, not an explanation. She'd shown me who she was. And I had finally accepted it. Tara? Never heard from her again after that last text. I sometimes wonder if they talk now, if they compare scars and try to rewrite the past so they can sleep at night. But it doesn't matter. Let them rewrite whatever version makes them feel better. I know the truth. The real story didn't end when Alyssa left. It didn't even end when I won the settlement or proved I was right. It began the moment I chose myself over her lies. It began when I stood up and said, no more. It began when I stopped trying to fix something that was never mine to fix in the first place. The healing wasn't loud. It was subtle. It was in the choices, the way I cooked for myself, cared for myself, spoke kindly to myself again. It was in the friends I let back into my life. In the laughter that returned without warning. In the deep sleep I hadn't felt in years. And as wild as it sounds, I wouldn't erase what happened. Because in losing her, I found me. So here we are, the end of the story. Or at least, the end of this chapter. I don't know what you expected when you clicked into this post. Maybe a revenge fantasy. Maybe a courtroom battle where I walk out with everything and she's left in ruins. And sure, parts of that happened. But the real win was peace. Not the fake, Instagram quote kind of peace. The real kind. The kind that sneaks in quietly one morning when you're making coffee and realize your chest doesn't feel tight anymore. The kind that hums in the background while you laugh at a dumb movie without flinching at memories. The kind that lets you look in the mirror and not flinch. Alyssa and Tara didn't just cheat on me. They tried to erase me. Paint me as the villain so they could play the victims. They used lies, manipulation, and gaslighting like weapons. But what they didn't count on was that I'd survive. More than survive, rebuild. Stronger. Wiser. Sharper. I've since finished writing the full story into a blog series that's now being shared by therapists and relationship coaches online. Apparently, what I went through hit a nerve. A lot of men, and women, have messaged me saying, "This is my life. I thought I was alone." You're not. If you're reading this and feel like you're drowning in lies, doubting your sanity, or being made to feel like the villain in your own life, I promise you, you're not crazy. You're not weak. You're not broken beyond repair. You're just stuck in someone else's game. And the moment you stop playing, everything changes. Walk away. Gather proof. Stay calm. Speak the truth, not to win them back, but to reclaim yourself. Would I ever take Alyssa back? Not in a million lifetimes. Would I thank her? Actually, yeah. In a twisted way, I do. Because if she hadn't believed that lie, if she hadn't betrayed me so thoroughly, I might still be trapped in that quiet misery, mistaking survival for love. She believed her best friend's lie that I cheated, and it destroyed us. But when the truth finally came out, it didn't just end the marriage. It set me free.